Hello, Jamar.
Woo!
Time for Vested.
What's up?
Wednesday. Wednesday's the time now, Jamar.
What's up?
It's Vested time. We're here to inspire, create, and empower. This is my friend Jamar Spell. I'm Damien Minna, and you are watching Vested.
What's up, Vested community?
Jamar,
what's up, brother?
Tell them about some things. Tell them about what you're doing and why you're doing it, and who we're going to talk to today.
Man, well, first of all, I'm grateful to see you. How are you?
Wow, man, I'm a little less bright. Whoa, I'm a little more bright.
Hey, we got the light. Say, bro, you shine the light. Shine the light, baby. Shine the light.
That's what we're doing. Getting some varieties. We're shaking things up. That's what we're doing. We're getting things done, Jamar. That's what we're invested.
Hey, we're here. The only way we can get to episode 100 is we have to get through episode 49 first.
Sure.
And today's episode 49, and we're here to talk about the Big Mo. Big Mo as in not somebody's uncle Big Mo.
No.
Somebody's uncle's name is Big Mo. You know, it's like, where's Big Mo at? You know what I'm saying? No, Big Mo is the momentum. And today we're here to talk about momentum in business, momentum in life, just the concept topic of momentum. And I'm so grateful for our guests today. Amazing people that are going to be shining the light in the universe for us.
Jamar,
with
let's
us.
talk about something. Before we get started today, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this topic, okay? Because I like it, but at the same time, I want to talk about both sides of it. I want to talk about what I don't like as well.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna look at the whole thing, man. We got to look at the whole thing, right? We can't just look at the 49 episodes that we got out here and slammed out. That's 49 weeks of us getting in front of our computer, our TV, or whatever. And spouting stuff off 49 times, man. And it's like we had this idea about creating a podcast, but I'm gonna be honest with you, Jamar. There have been times where I've gotten in front of this camera and I didn't feel good, like maybe I was physically ill or mentally ill, or.
Hey, you always look good though, bro.
I do my best, but I'm well taken care of. This is where Tech Team comes in. Okay, you can see how pretty the show is and how well it runs. That's kind of like how Damien's life goes because she's Tech Team for my life, and that's why I call her my wife. But
Woo!
I didn't mean to. It just kind of fell.
Did you write that one out? That's a good one, bro. That's a good one.
But listen, husband and wife. Look, you brought a husband and wife on tonight, and you wanted to talk about momentum. And I think that in the pre-production show, when I looked at them, I was like, "How do you guys want me to introduce you?" And I think they did a really good job. They are, in essence, what they are. They are successful as a couple. They are successful individuals, and they're so driven and pushed right now to get the very best out of all of their minutes that when I asked them about fear and how that affected their lives, it is now about what to do when you're in the middle of success and how to delegate it, because it feels so good and it's going so well and you want to keep things going that there's not really fear anymore. That so much so that he had to look for something to find an indicator for what that might mean in relationship to what they used to. So look, I'm really excited to bring these two on. Give them a little better introduction because I just met them and I'm impressed. But at the same time, you were the one that brought them here, so let's hear it, Jamar.
Man, well, I believe there's always greater forces at work, right? And I truly believe in the world we live in, how crucial relationships are in everything we do. And there's people in our lives that you just have a genuine love and respect for, but you don't need to talk to them every day. You don't need to talk to them often. But when you do talk to them, it's just that mutual appreciation. And that's these people here. I had the honor 6 years ago, the universe, powers be, God, connected us through a startup business venture that we were both supporting in different capacities. And basically, at one point, I was under her leadership at this new venture, and we just grew a genuine relationship. And through meeting the amazing boss woman, I met her amazing husband, who this dude is just an awesome human being, and their two beautiful daughters. And then, we just stayed in contact, but they embarked on a very important entrepreneurial journey that they've been on, that they are on. And it's just awesome to have them here to talk about how momentum has been a major factor in their life. So
Jamar, we look at both sides, though.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
what about
why you gotta be the bad cop?
Hey, look, what if you do see them every day? The people that you love, the people that we're talking about. What if every single morning and every single night, that's the last person you see and the first person that you see in the morning, and then all day long you guys work together? These people have found success doing that. And as much as my wife and I give our very best effort at doing the same thing, I'm always looking for tips, man. So let's bring them on, Jamar.
Yeah, let's go.
Ask them, I'm on fire. They better be ready.
Woo! What's up, team?
What's up, man?
What's up? Happy to be here. Thank you so much. That's an awfully nice introduction.
Yes. How are you?
I did all right, right? Did I do good?
Yeah.
Right.
What's up, bro?
No more.
Very well.
All right.
Man.
All right. What do you think? Should we inspire, create, and empower? Jamar, should we kick it off and get this thing going?
Well, before we get started, let's always set the tone of why we have our reasoning for inviting guests on the show. We're always bringing people on the show who are in some capacity shining light in the world, who are inspiring, they're creating, and they're empowering in their own way, in their own manner, in their own style. And so that's what these two human beings are doing, that they're inspiring, creating, empowering the world. And we're going to learn about how they're doing that. So yeah, let's kick it in. Hey, Coach G, don't hold back, bro. Full throttle.
Hey, Jamar, I'm always getting at everybody for getting ahead of the time. So, ahead of the game. I think I just did that. So I
slow down.
I'm sorry. I'm excited, man. There's two people here that I'm excited to talk to. I don't know. Let's do it. Should we inspire?
Hey, look up.
Okay, guys. The fun part that we get to do here with the inspire section is that I really like to poke at the individual who is on the inside of that meat suit that we see on the other side of the camera. So let's start off with maybe as individuals who you guys were at the time driving forward in your life when you ran into each other, and then kind of let's get it going from there.
Man, we were babies, I guess is the best. We were both living in Texas. Long story short, got set up on a blind date, and it was certainly a love at first sight for me. It took me a little while to convince Megan that was the case for her. But,
hey, it normally works that way, bro.
I'm persistent.
It's worth it,
Yeah.
So tough sale. I mean, that's still a bit of a brag. He's like, it wasn't easy, but I did it.
Yeah, come on. Yeah.
Exactly. It was not easy, but it was worth it.
Wow. Hey, I got a question real quick, because word on the street was at the time when you guys met, Megan, you had your eyes set on someone else that you thought you were going to marry. Is that true?
Yes, but let me repeat. We were babies. So yeah, I thought I was going to marry my high school sweetheart, and yeah, it's not the case. But
yeah. And Richmond took him out with the Billy Club.
Well,
I knew what I wanted, man.
problem solved.
So here you are, you're in Texas, you run into each other, you guys are dumb in love, and now what do you do? Okay. You're the wee. What happens from there?
So yeah, I mean, moved around a little bit, a few different jobs, a few different careers, had a couple kids, and ended up back in Salt Lake City, where I was born and raised. And I don't know, Meg, you could probably add a little bit more color to it than that, but that's it's the short of it, I guess.
Yeah, but 14 years into a nutshell, then yes. We moved around a bit, ended up in Laguna Beach where I met Jamar, and that's actually where my fitness journey started, being a stay-at-home mom with like a brand new baby and being just like a real young girl and wanting to work out and like stay active. And I was like introduced to the spin industry, which is, as you know, big in Southern California. And that's honestly, if we're talking about where we are today, one of the biggest moments where I found spin in Southern California that, shaped the kind of the direction that we're going today.
Wow.
Okay, this is what happens with successful people. We have this happen every once in a while here on Vested, guys. Well, what happens is we bring people on here, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we met from just a few careers, and then we just stumbled through it, and then we're just super successful." And I'm like,
How
"Yeah."
much time do we have? I guess that's the question.
Yeah.
You don't stop. You don't roll over. You don't. Successful people don't sit around and think about that type of stuff when you ask them about it, because it's just a byproduct of what goes down. But what I want to do with Vested is to be able to let everybody understand that there's inspiration behind the things that we stumble on. That even though, you say a couple of careers, you say a couple of kids, well, those are massive life movements.
Yeah.
And huge career decisions and life changes. I mean, you were in Texas and now we're back in here, and we're just going to go to Utah. And I said, well, now we have business, we do spin. It's inspirational. Well, what's inspirational is the two of you, that you're here on the other end of it, vested to the point where it didn't even phase you when I'm literally asking you what you went through, and you're like, not a big deal. That's inspirational. So what I want to know is that when these careers failed, when you had kids and you didn't exactly know how you were going to pay the bills, where did you find the inspiration as a couple to be able to look at it and go, this is impossible, and eat the damn ramen and get up the next day and keep working hard? How'd you do that?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah, well, that's exactly how you do it. You get up and you do it every single day, and you don't stop until you get where you want to go. But I think that, we don't ever want to call it like a failed attempt at, maybe Richmond was not happy in his role in Southern California, which, that's where I was working in the fitness industry. And we're always, I personally always started M-Cycle with the idea that it would give us freedom to enjoy our days, because I knew that this is, just a generally positive industry. People are generally visiting us at their favorite, moment of their day. And I knew that, while I can't take away the stress of Richmond and, his job, because I was a stay-at-home mom, just dabbling in the fitness industry and realizing that, I can only take short amounts of time away from my child because we can't afford childcare. And then realizing, you can make more money per hour in the fitness industry if you get really good at what you do and make sure that a lot of people come and see you. And I think the general idea was me just like realizing that I can't, you can't take away the stress, but you can make more money, and that can take away the stress.
Hold on. If you choose to do the right things with it. And a lot of times what people I feel like do is they get caught up in the idea of having stress, making money, realizing that could alleviate some of the steam, and they choose to make the wrong decisions and then wonder why it doesn't work out, because they choose short-term success over long-term investments. And I'm not exactly talking about the money that you spend, but the way that you spend it by investing in each other. Will you explain to me how you did that from a male perspective, my friend?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really great point. I think that was the realization for both of us, is that we could have stayed in Southern California. We could have stayed in the lifestyle that we had, which was a nice lifestyle. But it was a very short-term game, and we weren't really playing the long-term game. We weren't really thinking about 10, 15, 20 years from now, what it's going to be like for our kids. You can easily get caught up in that. But I feel like a big realization for me was that with Megan, she's a very driven person, very driven, not necessarily headstrong. I don't think that's the right way to say it, but she just, when she locks in on something and she wants to make something happen, she does it. And so it was a realization for me that I want to support that, and I want to encourage that and flourish that, and not have that be something where I'm dragging that down, And so what's been beautiful about M-Cycle is that between both of our backgrounds and experiences, it's really melded together into something pretty incredible, pretty beautiful. And so, yeah, I think to answer your question, I feel like it's important to not be a roadblock in that passion or that desire. And I'll admit that it took me a minute to believe in it, but it, my heart's fully in it now.
Wow. Well, there's, as we're talking about this in the inspiration section, right? Both you guys mentioned M-Cycle, and as someone who doesn't know anything about you as two amazing people or your community, they don't even know what we're talking about when it comes to M-Cycle. So, Coach D, how are we going to segue that? How are you going to transition there?
It's inspirational that they have this story that's going on, but now they're starting to talk about this M-Cycle stuff, and that kind of sounds like create to me. So,
hey, I think it's time to create, baby.
Sure.
That was dope. Hey, so what is M-Cycle? Talk to us.
M-Cycle is the greatest indoor cycling studio on the planet.
Woo, 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 woo. Come on.
I didn't say it. Our people said it.
Come on. Mind, music, movement, baby. M-Cycle.
Yes.
Okay. Utah? You're in Utah? You're spinning in Utah with the Mormons? Is that what's happening?
With the most music we can find.
Hey, Coach G, not just with the Mormons, with everybody. M-Cycle loves everybody, bro. Okay.
We need to straighten everything out here, though. I love Mormons. They're the kindest people I feel like I've ever met in my life. But
1,000%.
Everybody. We're loving everybody. I just love me some Mormons too. That's all. I think in Utah, it's like, yeah, Utah. So tell us about Utah. Why are you in Utah? What's going on in Utah?
Well, Richard is originally from here, but so am I. I grew up, 45 minutes south of Salt Lake. And, I grew up being a dancer, and I just know this area. I know this state. And it's because of its Mormon tendencies and stuff, dance and the arts are really, really big here. And I knew, honestly, the second I tried it in Southern California, that Utah would just love this biking to the beat, loud music, but in a very healthy environment, because, Mormons don't drink and they don't really party. They don't go out to bars or anything like that. But, everyone loves a party. So honestly, it's just a shoe-in. It's a shoe-in for Utah. It's no shock that it just kills it out here.
Okay, you said a word, freedom. Okay, now I want to look at this in two different ways, because you're looking at a state that in a lot of ways people would, from the outside looking in, say that there's a lot of restrictions there, but you look at it as a particular freedom because of that, because you're giving people something wholesome to do. You're showing them how to treat their body, how to work out, how to be able to apply themselves to release some of that extra energy. And I make jokes about the Mormons, but every Mormon person that I've ever become friends with, they've had this very diligent, or not militant, but a very compassionate approach towards the way that they use their energy. So what you've done, if you show them a way to party in a way that uplifts them. So talk to me a little bit about how you've created freedom in a place that there's perceived to be restrictions.
Go ahead, Mick.
Okay. Well, if you've ever taken a spin class yourself or done anything that's really, physically demanding, there comes a euphoria after you've done something great. And we just kind of combined, the heavy bass club atmosphere with this elevated, mindfulness of what you're doing and, what you're accomplishing, and trying to make that connection that, how they push inside the room is the same way, that they act when they're outside the room. And it just creates an energy. And honestly, it creates such a safe place, because the lights are a little bit low and we kind of really wear them out and use that kind of it's scientifically proven that when people are broken down, that, they're more apt to listen, and they're more apt to, maybe change their perspective a little bit. Yeah. And so I think just the formula behind how we approach our workouts, is number one, with someone that's very out there. If you're the craziest person in the room, that's going to invite everyone else that's in there to be crazy and to let loose and be free of all these things that they've, have told themselves that they need to be. But it's in a very controlled environment, because they're on a stationary bike and not going anywhere. So it's this beautiful balance of not embarrassing yourself, but getting to like, you know, really push yourself beyond, you know, your own limits and in your own place, collectively.
Yeah.
Well, I got a question, because you know, as we're talking about the big momentum and the power behind momentum, you know, Richmond, you said yourself that you didn't have the vision initially. Like it just wasn't there for you. And a lot of times in life, especially when you have power couples and business partners, one has to see it. It's not often where you have two people who can see the same distance at the same time.
Yeah.
And it takes normally one person to actually see further and believe further for another person to get caught up with that vision.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what the business is. So take us a little bit on your own journey as you had this right here, Mob Boss, painting a vision for you of where you guys are going as a family to go help people and elevate. And you weren't quite there yet. And looking back now, right, because we can only connect dots when we look back, how you've been riding momentum and you shifting from a different mindset to saying, oh shoot, like I'm in the cockpit with my wife and we're flying this freaking plane, making it happen. So talk to it, man.
Yeah, and so it's crazy because you look at, you know, when you start out in an adventure like this, you look at the massive picture. You look at the massive amount of stuff that has to be done, both on a financial level, on a personal level. And quite honestly, it just seemed like it was impossible, you know, like it just seemed like impossible without having, you know, rich parents or, you know, wealthy investors or so on. It just seemed like too good to be true, or something that wasn't realistic for us at that time. But what I came to realize is that if you continue pushing on that next step, the next level, the next rung in the ladder, you build off of that. You build off of that momentum or that energy that you get off of accomplishing that one thing. And I think what was the biggest tipping point for us was when we got involved with NextSeed. I think you remember, Meg, you probably would agree, but NextSeed is a crowdfunding platform that investors all over the United States, all over the world, can pick projects and decide like, hey, I think this is a good idea. I want to invest in this. And so it's beyond just like a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe or something like that. It's much more of a guaranteed rate of return. And so once we put through a campaign on NextSeed and got through the approval process with that and actually launched our campaign, got our campaign funded, and we raised $117,000 through that. That was a realization for me that even though that was a small piece of the pie that was needed, that was a realization for me. It's like, okay, next step, let's figure out this first. Before we worry about everything else that has to be done, let's figure out this next step first. And yeah, you carry that energy, you carry that momentum from win to win, or from loss to win, or couple losses to a win. And but that's a very empowering feeling. You know, it's a very empowering energy that you get from those little micro wins along the way. And
man, that's powerful, bro. Because you got something right on the tip of your tongue. I see it.
I'm
What is
wrapping
it?
my head around all this together. So we got these two guys. You guys both grew up in Utah, both of you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you bounced around, and then you went to California. Okay, and okay, so you're starting to experience some success. You know that you love each other. You're working towards things together, but then you bring up this word freedom, and I'm like, so I was following you right up to the idea where these two Utah people who grow up in a pretty strict upbringing decide to fall in love, move to California, okay, because that's what conservative people do, right? They move to California, and then somehow find success, okay, but then decide to take it back to where they started. And then find freedom in business through the struggle and appreciation of getting through it together. But what I want to know is how you guys created freedom within the bond of marriage while you're starting to succeed in places like California. Because if you grew up in Utah and you're used to that strict environment and you know it enough to bring a business there and that it would succeed and why, but you went to California and you had all of this temptation, how did you deal with that within your marriage, especially when you guys weren't in the same state at times, to be able to create freedom in the bond of marriage?
Well, I think that honestly, Southern California was not like, it was such a different lifestyle for us because I was, basically a full-time volunteer for my daughter's elementary school. Obviously I got my hands in a bunch of stuff during the 8 years I lived there. And, but I was never like a breadwinner or an entrepreneur, perhaps, I was always volunteering and like getting jobs and like doing small businesses on the side, but never like something like, okay, now you have to trust me fully. This is totally going to work. And it's going to be so awesome for us. That was like not our program. And, being a stay-at-home mom and like, just like the roles of our life were so different in California that like, I feel like we really enjoyed our marriage when we were in California. My full-time job besides volunteering was to make my husband happy. And, like I loved that role. And I love watching my girls and like go on adventures all the time. That was like a really fun thing. But, there's always that other side to it where you're like, I wonder if I could, if I wanted to. And I feel like that just started to get at me. And I wanted to, after Pop Cycle closed, where I met Jamar, I saw an opportunity. Obviously, I didn't see any money in the opportunity, like to fund it, but I had the dream and the idea that Salt Lake is so ready and ripe for something like this, that this is the ticket to freedom for us to be together more, because Richmond was working, long hours at a job he hated. So I saw it as freedom, like, because we'll be together, during the day, like when we work with each other, and it's like generally fun stuff. Like Richmond's a very active athlete, and I know that he would give so much to this side. It's not like, oh, this is just only my thing. Like I knew that he would be great in his own right, after like we found our feet in teaching him how to instruct and like, show him the ropes of the business. So that I think that change of us moving to Utah and like having to work together and like everything that we had built a life on prior to these past 3 years have been a very different role. And that, I think, honestly, is the biggest adjustment. So the freedom that we have is amazing, and we go buck wild. We have so much fun together.
Hold on.
It's really hard too, working. So
it happened again. We have to listen. I'm sorry, girl. We have to catch the Vested community up. You're doing it again. You're being incredible again. You skipped over all this stuff, and then you got to the point. Yeah, we'll just pick it up. And he hated his job, and I was raising a single mother, and I was volunteering. I didn't have any money. Whoa. This is what we create. This is what goes into success. This is what Vested's about. It's about looking at those types of things and understanding that they happen and being able to move through them instead of let them weigh you down. So I wanted to know, okay, so everything that you just said to a lot of people in California, okay, because I was raised here, they look at life differently, and I'm stereotyping, and I guess I'm in the wrong time to do that, but I'm California, so I'm talking about myself. Anyway, there's this thing, and for whatever reason, it just gets overabundant. And we think more, we think we want this and that and this and that, and you keep going up and up. So as you guys started doing that outside of the like state that you guys were raised in, and you started to experience success, a lot of people would look at the things that you just talked about as constraints, as things that held you down. And what you're trying to tell me is that when you're in this foreign environment, okay, that you were able to find strength within the process of struggle so that you could utilize it and package it when you went back to Utah. So I needed to catch Vested up to this process of what's happening in front of them. And now as a man, I got to go back to you, my friend, because as a woman, women are incredible, man. They just seem, I'll take all the weight, no problem. But as a guy too, you start to experience some success, but also some frustration of being in a job that you didn't like. How did you find freedom in that creation to be able to motivate you, man, and the two of you guys and your whole family to go start a whole new business you didn't know was going to work in another state that you've been working in? Where did that come from?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, I think, we took a huge leap in moving out to California to begin with. I got a job where, quite frankly, I had no business getting to begin with, and so everything was great. We're excited. We're living in California in Laguna Beach, and I'd come home every day just racking my brain trying to figure out a brand new career in the tech industry that I felt like I had no business even getting that job to begin with. And so the years go by, 5-6 years go by, and my back was against the wall with just figuring out, like, I didn't have an option to not succeed in it. I had to make it work to provide for my family and to chase that dream of being happy, in Southern California. And Megan and I used to have long discussions about almost this exact thing. It's like, well, if you've done this type of thing before, if you jumped into a brand new career before, and more odds against us at the time, more overwhelming odds against us at the time, if we've got through that, like if we can work through this next plan, and if we can get on the same page with this next plan, there's really no reason. If you've been able to do that, and if we've been able to do that and get through that whole process together, we know that the next steps are possible. And I think that it just leaning on trusting in our ability to figure things out, trusting in our ability to maybe not know exactly what we need to do, but just trusting in that ability that we know we have to figure it out was, I think, probably the tipping point. Yeah, it was probably the tipping point for me to just finally say, okay, look, I don't know how the hell we're going to figure this out, but I feel like we're giving ourselves the shot at freedom, or we're giving ourselves the shot of playing the long game. And that felt like the smart decision, even though it sounds crazy, is some of the stuff that we've done to get to this point. Like, that felt smart,
So
Wow.
That sounds so
Well, hey, look at this here, because you said something that you said it without saying it. You were talking about how it's in your heart right now, right? The mission,
yeah,
the venture. And a lot of times what we do is if we're looking at playing the long game, right? The long-term game in life, a lot of times we're doing it from the medulla oblongata. We're trying to think that way, but it's really not in our heart yet.
Yeah.
So we have all these challenges and struggles because what we're trying to embark on and conquer is really not in our heart yet. But once it goes from the head to the heart, it's like things become the matrix. We see things differently because all of a sudden this vision is in our heart, right? Yeah. So for you, because this is a 2-point question. At what point did you say, man, like this is, I know you talked about next seed, but when did you feel that, man, this is really in my heart? Like I'm all in. Like, I know in the beginning you were being that supportive husband and supporting the vision of your amazing wife. But when did you come to the point where, like, man, like, oh shoot, like this is in my heart. Like I believe, like I might not have been there in the beginning, but I'm in the game now. Let's go, baby. Like, when did that happen? And then question number 2, as being a couple, a lot of people don't understand compartmentalization when you're operating in business or partnership with a significant other or a loved one or spouse, family member. How do you manage it? How do you handle that? How do you separate the business to the person? Like, is that challenge for you? Can you do it? How do you do it? Is it nothing you think about? Like, help us go deeper into more of that personal side of it. So that's 2-point question for you. How to get in your heart? When did you realize that? And how do you manage the compartmentalization of holding the house together and the business and keeping all the vibrations positive flowing forward? Momentum.
Yeah, I think to answer the first question, I think that I was certainly a slow adopter to it. Like I felt like we've overcome so many other things. We finally we're in a place of stability, and there was a lot of fear for me to leave what I felt was stable. for something that was yet again unstable in our lives. We had a lot of years previously before Southern California, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of feast or famines. And so there was a lot of fear, but I think, again, Megan's tenacity and Megan's passion about pursuing something greater, pursuing something bigger, and not in the sense of like, oh, this is owed to me, like I deserve this. It's like there was a tenacity about her wanting to earn it and wanting her to create it. And I think that's one of the things that, especially nowadays, where everybody talks about what they're owed or what they deserve, or almost like just because they were born, they somehow are owed an incredible amount of success in life or freedom or peace. But in my mind, those things are earned. Those things are earned with time and dedication and consistency. And I think a big part of it for me was seeing that in Megan. Seeing that that drive, that passion that I knew wasn't going to go away. And I knew that I loved her, and I knew that I loved our family. And in a lot of ways, it was kind of like, you got to get on this thing. We got to give it a shot. Otherwise, you're saying no to a lot more than just business,
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you were seeing a momentum train from a whole nother perspective.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because you were seeing the intangible momentum.
Yeah.
Happening in your family as the mother to your children, your wife. You're like, oh shoot, like she's freaking rolling a train, and the only way that things will go faster if I get freaking on board. Right?
So hold on. Did you see, Megan? It took 3 of us guys. I don't know how to raise the kids, and I just worked out really hard and tried to do my time, and it's like it was no big deal. It's 3 of us. It took 3 of us. But I don't know, man. I think that's pretty empowering.
Hey, Coach G, he needs to answer the second question, because I want to know about compartmentalization. Like, how do you make it flow? Because Coach G, this is something that you experience too, man. Right? Like, this is totally different game for me right now.
Yeah, it's you hear a lot about balance. You hear a lot about finding balance in your life, and quite frankly, I feel like if anytime you're trying to create something big, you're trying, especially with a spouse and a partner, balance kind of goes out the window for a little while. I feel like we become obsessed with building this both out of necessity and out of drive. And so I think the balance picture of it kind of goes out the window for a little bit, and you kind of have to be okay with being obsessed with it. As we've gone through a few years of it, we've come to the point now where we really prioritize having fun together. We spend a lot of time in the mountains, in the desert, camping, doing things that are disconnected, from internet and social media, all that stuff, and just completely having fun together. And those things kind of fill up our cup for a little while. We empty that, wipe out all the last little bits of water that's left in that thing, and then refill it again later. So I think that, as you become more systems oriented and more process driven and being smart with your time and all those different things, I think you can get to a point where you can better compartmentalize life and business. But for us, it certainly was not. It was all one, like we'd go to work early in the morning. We'd be teaching a 6 a.m. class. We'd work all day long. We'd come home, put the girls to bed, and we'd be talking over dinner. We'd be talking, and just like, it was a constant thing for a long time. But we recognized that, we're not being present with each other. We're not being present with our kids when it's always that way. So our adventures help, those things definitely help kind of take the edge off a little bit, but we've gotten smarter. We've gotten better about realizing that it can't always be on with the business. Like, it's incredibly important, but it's certainly not everything, So wow. I think as we've gotten better and we've gotten smarter, to answer your question shorter, We've gotten better at it, but it was certainly imbalanced in the beginning because of our obsession.
Well, wow. There it is. There all of it is, and that's a very empowering. And I think we need to just
come on, let's go. Hey,
it is.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane?
It's this one.
A Superman pump for you right there.
I gotta get back because I was just teasing with your girl earlier. Like, I really do believe that women have this incredible ability to, from an emotional perspective, just look at this nurture thing like it's a big deal, and it is an incredibly big deal. Like, I'm a mama's boy, okay, and somehow when I was growing up, whether it was right, wrong, or indifferent, mom always had a way for it. I mean, dad had the analytical way. I'm gonna go to work, I'm gonna pay the bills, I'm gonna get the money, I'm gonna figure all that out. But mom was, mom did this amazing nurture thing, and she had a knack for it in a way that like almost didn't make sense to me. It was this like magic wonder thing. So I understand that in the real world, all of this is very difficult. You go home and you struggle, and you have to be a woman first, and then you have to be, a wife, and then a mom, and it's like you got to find balance in all of this. And like I was teasing you earlier because you just throw it out there like it's no big deal, and I want to honor you in this moment that it is a big deal, and that I'm empowered with your efforts because it takes a yin to every yang to make something work. And from a female perspective, since I'm a male, and I identify from that perspective, I really want to know a little bit more about the emotions that went into how you picked yourself up in times where most people would have given up.
Well, I think that when you really truly want to give up, I mean, these are all coming from very personal perspectives because we all have our own reasons for wanting to do things and wanting to like prove that you can. And, in the beginning when Richmond wasn't on board, it was, it was almost like, well, guess what? Then I have to. If you don't believe me, then I have to do it so that you believe me next time. And like, honestly, I think it's part stubbornness, part, like I did see the freedom, and I still do see the freedom. I have way more freedom today and to say what I want and have the impact that I've always wanted to have. And to me, that feels like freedom. Like I can be exactly who I want to be every single day when I walk in, and I'm celebrated for it. To me, that feels like freedom. And honestly, when it comes down to it, and like the thought of giving up means that I don't get to do this anymore. So that is enough to keep me going. And beyond that, we have like a lot of investors, and we have a lot of people counting on us. And like, that's not everything, because everyone signed that on the bottom line that if they might not get their investment back. And I know that that's a real thing, but I know that we can do this. So I guess it's not a real thing. We just have to keep going.
Boss lady, it's absolutely a real thing. You are the leader we follow. Thank you very much. Thank you for reminding me why we do Vested, why there's times like I started the show off with just tomorrow where I don't want to, and I do it anyway because I have to. And I don't know why. And I'm driven towards it because of people like Jamar, because of people like my wife, and because of people like you. Because of the relationship that you have, because you believed in it when it wasn't physically there, but through the strength of both of you working as hard as you could, overcoming your very worst, your very hardest, your very most, while programming little humans. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Man.
I appreciate
it. I got a question. I'm gonna ask one question, two questions, same question for both of you, but we'll start with Megan first, so Richmond can wrap it up. But Megan, what comes to your mind right now when I ask you, first of all, what are you grateful for? And then number two, what message would you want if someone's listening to you right now, your journey, and they're about to embark on a process that you guys are enduring right now, what would you want to share with them? What are you grateful for? And what would you want someone to know who's coming after you on the path of entrepreneurship?
Well, okay. Sorry, repeat the first question. I know
gratitude. What are you grateful for?
It's just so many things. Honestly, I'm grateful that I do have a family and, a husband that actually, I'm not going to say allowed it to happen because it was going to happen regardless, but I'm so grateful for the support when it was like, really needed. Like I couldn't have done it without Richmond. Like there's many conversations and many big, big moments for M Cycle that, he orchestrated and, made possible. So I'm super grateful for all that support. But honestly, today, I'm super grateful for the community that M Cycle is, because now there's nothing, that's the momentum. We just need to keep up with them, honestly.
Wow. So, and last point, what would you want someone to hear who was thinking about doing what you both did?
I would tell them to get out and to get around other people that are trying to be entrepreneurs as well. Like go to events and like look online and go to like women's groups. If you're a woman, go to places where people are looking for the same amount of support as you are. Because even though I would go to those things, and it's not necessarily that I walked away with the tools that I needed. I walked away with the sense that there are other people that are like fighting just as hard as me. And we can go back to momentum, and that's the momentum that you need. You need other people that are wanting to be the best version. They want to create. And if you surround yourself with those people, I mean, I feel like you just get the boosts, the small little boosts that you need to keep you going to the next step, because you get momentum from yourself, but you have to surround yourself with people that keep you in line and focused on yourself. If you see someone else like getting that deal or like getting an investor or something, it really makes you look at yourself and be like, I'm capable and I'm going to do it. And like, you got to keep showing up.
Come on, keep showing up.
Same question, my man. What are you grateful for? And how do you lead when you're in a position where you don't know how to lead?
Yeah. So my answer immediately is always my first thing and foremost thing I'm most grateful for is my family, my wife, my daughters. That's the driving force behind everything I do. So gratitude number one is for them. On a personal level, I'm very grateful for the somewhat forced self-development that has to be undertaken when you go on a journey like this. I think it's easier when you're in a job to kind of hide behind what you're good at, avoid what you're not good at. But I'm grateful for that process of forced growth in a way, forced self-development, and doing things that you have to do. And it's a beautiful process to kind of see that unfold in you. And then you get confidence after those little wins. You get confidence and momentum after those little things. Like, I can do this better next time, or I can, build off of it. And I'm feeling good about it because I just got over this last hurdle that was a pain in the ass. And now I'm feeling better about it. So I feel really grateful for that process of becoming more of who I am because of this.
I think you just answered all the questions in one shot. To be told. That was gangster. Well, listen, Tamara, I love you. Rebecca Francis, I love you. To our guests, so much as individuals and as a pair for coming on the show and adding light to everything that you do, so that we can follow your lead. Thank you so much for never giving up, and thank you so much for being vulnerable on our show today and sharing with the VESTED community how to inspire, create, and empower through the entire process. Now, Jamar, I gotta kick it over to you, my friend. Line them up with a little thought and ask them a question, my buddy.
All right, well, man, Coach G, you know how much I love you, bro. Tech team, I love you, and Richmond and Megan, thank you guys so much for coming and shining your light, shining your spirit, shining your heart. And I also want to give a huge shout out to the M Cycle community. If you're anywhere in the Salt Lake area, make sure you go check out M Cycle. If you're visiting Salt Lake, go check out M Cycle. These two human beings right here are major light sources in that community, and they're the people that are there, part of that M Cycle community, are amazing people. I had the opportunity and the pleasure to actually visit and feel the energy. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I mean, this is just the beginning of the M cycle empire. So I want to put that out there. But also, too, to the vested community, you got to make sure that you know that this is a process. Life's a process. Everything we want to accomplish is a process. Like Richmond said, the process to force growth, you know, it's just part of the game. Yeah. And a lot of times, like Megan talked about, you got to believe for the victory before we even see the victory. So vested community, whatever you're doing, keep going, keep believing, get it from your head to your heart. Don't let up, keep the momentum, keep pushing, keep getting around the people who are in the same battle of striving for greatness like you. But it doesn't matter what you do, whatever you do. Here's the question. Are you vested?